A very good evening and welcome. This is Weekend Primetime News on News First. I'm Ramesh Bandara. As always, let's start off with a look at your headlines.
No confidence motion against the Prime Minister can be won, says State Minister TB Kanayaka. SLFP Central Committee to decide on no confidence motion. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe apologizes over his suspected cronyism scandal.
Now on to a story that made local as well as international headlines. Yesterday was a dark day for cricket in general, as Australia, which is considered as one of the big three nations in modern day cricket, was left ashamed and embarrassed after its captain Stephen Smith admitted and confessed to hatching a plan with its senior members of the Australian cricket team in relation to ball tampering. Now, this is the incident in question and the fallout from that incident.
Cameron Bancroft, the fielder chosen to carry out the tampering, admitted to cheating after Bancroft was caught on television using a piece of sticky tape to rub dirt into the ball, then trying to hide the tape down his trousers when umpires suspected something was up.
Yeah, I've been charged with attempting to change the condition of the ball. Yeah, look, we had a discussion during the break on myself. I saw an opportunity to potentially use some tape, get some granules from the rough patches on the wicket, and tried to I guess change the ball condition. It didn't work. The umpires didn't obviously change the ball, but I guess once I was sighted on the screens and having done that, I panicked quite a lot, and that obviously resulted in me shoving it down my trousers. So.
It was fake. Yeah, the leadership group knew about it. We spoke about it at lunch, and I'm not proud of what's happened. It's not within the spirit of the game. My integrity, the team's integrity, the leadership group's integrity has come into question, and rightfully so. It's certainly not on, and it won't happen again, I can promise you that, under my leadership.
The Australian Sports Commission, the lead government agency responsible for Australian sport, has called for Steve Smith to be sacked immediately in the wake of the ball tampering scandal. Cricket Australia CEO James Sutherland called it a sad day for Australian cricket, but said the governing body would take no action against Smith or coach Darren Lehmann until a full investigation was complete.
I was extremely disappointed and shocked to hear the news and read the news this morning after the events in Cape Town yesterday, and from a Cricket Australia perspective, we regard this as an extremely serious issue. Australian cricket fans want to be proud of their cricket team. They want to be proud of the Australian cricket team. And I think this morning they have every reason to wake up and not be proud of the team. It's a very sad day for Australian cricket.
The incident also reached the national level, with Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull joining in on the debate.
We all woke up this morning shocked and bitterly disappointed by the news from South Africa. It seemed completely beyond belief that the Australian cricket team had been involved in cheating. I've spoken with David Peever, the chairman of Cricket Australia, just a moment ago, and he has said to me that Cricket Australia will be responding decisively, as they should. This is a shocking disappointment, and it's wrong, and I look forward to Cricket Australia taking decisive action soon.
I don't care who you are, you can't tamper with the ball. Now, we don't know, we can't make accusations because you don't know. I don't care if it's Australia or South Africa, you just can't do the things that it looks like that we all think it's doing. So, to me, that'd be really disappointing, and a lot of the Australian sides I played in, I never did anything like that.
Yeah, it looks terrible. Now for me, he's definitely tampering with the ball. I think the footage shows that he's using a foreign object to alter the ball, and then the following footage of him hiding away and everything else just makes it look worse.
This clearly is against the laws of the game, and we've just had our national captain and our national team admit that they sat down, premeditated, pre-planned a way to cheat.
What a day. A terrible one for Australian cricket, to be honest. And I guess, look, I'm pretty emotional about it all, to be honest, so it's going to be quite hard for me to talk about. But I think I have no doubt in my mind Steve Smith will be sitting in his hotel room right now in tears. I have no doubt in my mind that every past Australian cricketer will be absolutely shattered with what we found out this morning.
No, it's definitely not a good look, and as you said, it's suspicious. And if the Australians have done the wrong thing, they've obviously got to pay the price.
Australia hasn't been done for ball tampering before, to my knowledge, and every team tries to get a ball to reverse under natural circumstances. When they bounce it in, the umpires tell them, no, you can't do that, you've got to throw it straight in, and they try and push the envelope there. But this seems to be, if it is the case and it's proved, it seems to be a calculated decision of how they were trying to go about the process and trying to get things done, and I think that will get them into the hot water.
In the latest development, Australia captain Steve Smith has been banned for one match and fined his entire match fee by the ICC. Cricket Australia also announced that Australian captain Steve Smith and vice-captain David Warner have stood down from their respective leadership roles for the remainder of the third test against South Africa in Cape Town. Wicketkeeper Tim Paine will act as captain in Newlands, with both Smith and Warner taking the field.
Former Indian cricketer and commentator Sanjay Manjrekar, speaking exclusively to Newsfirst, shared his thoughts on this ball tampering incident. Newsfirst also reached out to other commentators and pundits to get their opinion on this incident.
This is unfortunate, and they've accepted that as well, and I think there should be zero tolerance for cheating. I can understand emotions and language sometimes, going out of control, but cheating is something that has to be dealt with very firmly, and the strongest action possible should be taken. And I expect nothing less from the ICC and Cricket Australia.
Normally, this is a level 2 offence, and what the ICC would do is ICC would generally punish the offender with either a 1-match ban or a 2-match ban, or they could even give them a fine. Purely, if you take this in isolation, I think Cameron Bancroft at most might get a match or 2 as a suspension. But I say that this is a different situation because Steve Smith has gone on record accepting, taking total responsibility for what has happened, and he has also gone on record to say that this was pre-planned by the Australian Leadership Committee. Now this is what I say is unprecedented. I feel that this is a deliberate thing, and therefore this is one of the darkest days in cricket. I would add a little bit more and say the darkest day possibly in the history of world cricket.
What happened in Australia is downright disgraceful. Ball tampering should not be accepted under any circumstances. It is downright cheating. Cheating. Nobody could. He has taken the glue or gum in his pocket with the deliberate intention of applying it on the ball and gaining undue advantage. You polish the ball on one side and the ball swings. So you can't accept anybody with ball tampering. In Australia is famous for sledging. From the time of Alan Border, they have been world champions, but they have adopted questionable means of enhancing their standing in the cricket world by resorting to a degree of cheating, which I am proud Sri Lankans don't resort to.
Now, there were plenty of reactions on this incident on Twitter as well. Let's quickly take a look at some tweets that we highlighted. Michael Vaughan, former English captain himself and an international commentator, says, some heads will roll, and rightly so, but you have to think every single player and management knew what they were trying to do. 12th man Hanscom was on the walkie-talkie, he was on it, so in my eyes they are all bad as each other. Sky News Australia reports the Minister of Sports in Australia saying that cheating scandal is a sad day for Australian cricket. He says the Australian public expects players to abide by the rules and for our elite athletes to lead by example. Those are the comments of the Australian Minister of Sports. And EWN Sports, a sports network affiliated in South Africa, reports Cricket Australia is sending 2 officials to South Africa to investigate the ball tampering issue, and hopefully they will be taking action after this investigation done by these 2 individuals are completed. Former Test batsman Simon Kattick has told an Australian radio station that Cricket Australia has no option but to sack Smith, Warner and Lehmann. Stephen Smith is the captain, David Warner is the vice captain, and Darren Lehmann is the coach of the Australian side. Also, 10 Sports reports Adam Gilchrist, who you heard earlier as well, as saying we are now the laughingstock of not just the cricketing world, but the sporting world as well. And finally, Kevin Peterson, outspoken English batsman who retired a couple of weeks ago, says slept on it, Lehmann, Saker and the leadership's groups are untenable. They've disgraced a great cricketing nation and Test cricket itself. Now, these are some of the reactions that we highlighted on Twitter. We also spoke with one of our local experts, that is Mahinda Vijay Singha, a veteran cricket writer. We spoke to him a short while ago to get his views on this incident. Let's take a look at this recording. Now, when we remember about the Australian cricket team, the first incident that jumps to mind relating to Sri Lanka is how they treated Muthaiya Muralidharan back in the 1990s when he was accused of chucking. Now, is this, with this incident coming to light, does this seem a bit hypocritical?
Of course it does. In fact, that is what they do, not only to Murali, but Murali was the biggest victim, because what they did to Murali is unpardonable, because even the ICC had appointed experts in biomechanics to look into this matter, and they said, gave an all clear signal. But still they went on and on and on at him, because people like Beno and the senior commentators like that were out to get Murali, because they were thinking of only promoting Shane Warne. That is what happened. And the other thing is, whenever any team goes there, first they start attacking through the media. Then they start attacking with the spectators. Then they also use umpires. Now, for instance, there were 2 umpires. Ross Emerson, who was found to be having a mental problem, and then, of course, the famous one and only Darrell Hare, who recently, about 2 years back, I think, was found to have been pilfering the monies in the office he was working in. So, in other words, and he was a gambler. So, when you have people of that moral standards, they can't umpire, or at least they can be brought up to do what the other people want him to do. So, therefore, this question of the Australian conduct in recent times, the only thing I can think of a worse scandal than this was the 1932-33 Bodyline series, when there was a big scandal. And I think the next one is 85 years or so later, this is what we have got now.
Now, Stephen Smith and the Australian team has won the Spirit of the Cricket Award before as well, but with incidents of sledging taking the front, especially in the Australia versus England series, what do you think will happen to the future of Australia cricket in terms of the spirit of the game?
Well, it is, you don't have to be a prophet to know what the future is going to hold, unless Cricket Australia takes very, very strict measures, because don't forget what Smith has been now suspended by the ICC and his match fee taken off and so forth. But Cricket Australia, the CEO, James Sutherland, stated that this is not the end of the story. We are going to take very serious action. Now, if they are going to take more serious action than what the ICC has done, they'll have to take some very, very serious action, because that means most likely the 5 senior players who were at lunchtime planning this out, but let the youngest man in the cricket team to use as a cat's paw, I think that was treacherous.
I mean, Bancroft is one of the youngest players in the team, as you said. What do you think will be the future of the senior players that you mentioned, and in fact, indeed, Coach Darren Lehman as well? What kind of actions, in your opinion, should be taken to rectify such issues and to make sure that such incidents do not happen again?
Well, obviously, in fact, as Shane Warne himself has said, that this could not have happened without the knowledge of the coach also. Because they said that they were discussing this matter at lunchtime. And if they are the senior players having a discussion at lunchtime, surely you don't expect the coach to be smoking a cigarette or something, being somewhere else. He also would have participated in this. So therefore, he can't make any excuses unless and until the Australian Cricket Australia takes very, very serious action. Their credibility in the eyes of the world will also be ruined.
We thank Mr. Vijay Singh for joining us earlier on in the day. That's it for now. We go in for a short commercial break. On the other side, more news to follow.
The central bank bond scam. Aloysius. Palisena. Mahendran. The mastermind still at large?
Now, you heard the Japanese Prime Minister apologizing to the nation for something he did wrong. Think back. Have you ever heard an apology from a Sri Lankan politician, or at least something close to an apology from one of our public representatives? I don't think so. Now, the members of the former administration, led by President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who can be seen here, have been accused of a number of things in relation to fraud and corruption. None of them has come forward to apologize for incidents that had taken place. Members of the current government, who you can see here, these are just a few, they have never come forward to apologize for corruption that could have taken place within their administration. For example, take the bond scam. It's been about 3 years since the bond scam took place, but none of the current politicians have come forward to apologize to the nation because of the damage that they caused through this daylight robbery. Now we know that there are 2 individuals who are in remand custody in connection to the bond scam. The courts have issued an arrest warrant for former governor of the central bank, Arjun Mahendran. But look back, think about the politicians who made statements in order to protect Mahendran and his associates. Look back at the statements made by our Prime Minister himself with regard to his affections, his closeness to the former central bank governor, and how he took steps and made statements to protect his friend. Now, while Mahendran is being sought by officials to be questioned in court, the masterminds who are behind this entire bond scam, the masterminds who ordered people to make certain decisions in order to make the bond scam a reality, are still keeping their names out of the spotlight and the headlines through their actions. The question is, for how long?
The head of the bond scam, the person who provided the political guidance for it, it was the Prime Minister who set up the legal and administrative environment necessary for the scam to be carried out. Arjun Mahendran has escaped with the blessings of the leader of the UNP. He is an individual who is well known internationally, so he can be taken into custody easily. We all know that the police in Sri Lanka were able to apprehend people like KP and others, so they should be able to arrest this individual too. This is our position.
Who is the main rogue behind the central bank scam? Arjuna Mahendran was the governor of the central bank. Where is he now? Whose friend is he? Ranil Wickramasinghe's. Then we have Malik Samar Wickrama and Kabir Hashim. The governor of the central bank carried out the theft and fled, and now he is being protected by his friend. Isn't that so? 2 small fry who were involved in the theft, Palisena and Arjun Aloysius, have been locked up, but the mastermind is at large. the political masterminds who were behind the scam are still at large. This is the situation in the country. We must put a stop to it. This cannot be solved through a no-confidence motion alone. The law of the country must be enforced, and those responsible for this should go where they deserve to go. The small fry have been captured, while the sharks and the political sharks are leading a life of luxury around the world. Is this the law of the country?
මේකද මේ රටේ නීතිය.
මං කෑ ගහනකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ කෑ ගහන්න. කවුද හොරා? කවුද හොරා? කවුද හොරා?
Kauda hora. Who is the thief? Or the more appropriate question in this case would be, who isn't a thief? Think about it. Has there been any punitive action against politicians or those affiliated with politicians in connection to the crimes that they have allegedly committed? Where are those involved in the MIG deal? Udayanga Weeratunga, former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Sino here, is still missing. Now, this MIG deal caused damages to the country worth around $7 million US. Former Ambassador Jalia Wickramasuriya, who is implicated in connection to the purchase of a new building for the Sri Lankan embassy in Washington. He's out on bail. He traveled to the United States, and he's still in the United States to our knowledge. Yet, there were plenty of people who were taken to the FCID once this government came into power in 2015. But still, their cases, we do not know what progress has been made. What progress has been made after 2015 in connection to the murders of Lasantha Wickramatunge, in connection to the murder of Wasim Tajuddin. So we do not see any punitive action being taken against politicians or those affiliated with politicians. And when things like this happen, one could think that there are two laws in this country, one for politicians and their affiliates, and the other for the common man. Now, it is in this backdrop that a no-confidence motion was brought against the Prime Minister in Parliament. Now, most of the accusations made in this no-confidence motion is pertaining to the Prime Minister's alleged involvement in the central bank bond scam. How will the Sri Lanka Freedom Party react and vote in this no-confidence motion? Let's listen to some statements made by SLFP seniors in regard to this.
I believe that on the 4th of April, when the no-confidence motion is taken up, the hopes and expectations of the people will be met. We believe that the members of Parliament will act disregarding party divisions on this matter. In line with that decision, we will move forward with strength. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party is yet to reach a final decision on this no-confidence motion. Following the President's arrival, the Central Committee will convene, and it is possible that a decision will be made there. This will only come to light at the next meeting of the Central Committee. We submitted this to ensure its victory, not its defeat. A large group within the UNP has agreed to support this. On the matter of bringing a no-confidence motion from within the government, we have the freedom to support or oppose what we wish. In this matter, we have an ethical duty to stand by the people and understand the realities of the country. Our Central Committee will make a decision within the next 2 days. This is a common decision that has been agreed to by our group and myself.
Meanwhile,
speaking to the BBC Sinhala service, State Minister Palitha Range Bandara said there are several members of the UNP who are prepared to support the no-confidence motion. The State Minister noted that he could not divulge their names as it would be extremely dangerous to do so. Palitha Range Bandara added that if even one name was divulged, people would chase after that person from today until the 4th of April.
Those who will work in support of the Prime Minister when the no-confidence motion is taken up have already begun to receive gifts. We have been informed that bags of money are being exchanged at luxury hotels as out of the gifts for those who will support the Prime Minister during the no-confidence motion. This is not a secret.
Out of the gifts for those who protect the Prime Minister. These are not my words, these are the words of a UPF parliamentarian. How far will these individuals be able to protect themselves? If we are to believe the statements that are being made, then as we speak there could be exchanges taking place in order to secure power or to come into power. That is also something that should be considered. But the general public can't enter into such deals in order to save their lives. We have stringent laws in this country that deal with theft. That is why you get to hear certain stories here and then with regard to children being punished for stealing mangoes, or an innocent man being thrown in remand custody or jail for stealing a coconut. But as I said earlier, when you see things like this happening, one could very well think that there are two sorts of laws in this country. That is, keeping this in mind, today the joint opposition convening a media briefing made this revelation.
Once the Active Liability Management Bill is adopted, Parliament's financial oversight powers will be stripped and the Prime Minister will be able to take loans as and when he wishes. He will be able to deposit these loans in whichever account he wishes to and earn profits. No judicial action can be taken against him. We went before the Supreme Court because while this may not be unconstitutional, it violates parliamentary tradition and is harmful to the financial system. We also questioned it in the Sectoral Oversight Committee. President Mahinda Rajapaksa spoke to President Maithripala Sirisena. Accordingly, the bill was not tabled on Wednesday. It was to be postponed. Then the Prime Minister had come to the Oversight Committee and instructed for this to be adopted, disregarding our opposition. It was adopted on Friday with much haste. The electronic system was also registered a yes vote from Minister S.P. Dissanayake, who was not present in the chamber during the voting. Recently, the President had put forward a cabinet paper annulling the Committee on Economic Management, which makes these decisions. The Prime Minister did not allow it. Even a grade 2 student can understand the arrogance of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is even disregarding edicts from the President. The only way this situation can be resolved if he is removed from the positions he holds. This is why the joint opposition put forward this no-confidence motion.
On more local news, the 44th convocation of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka was held in Colombo yesterday with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe as the chief guest. President's Counsel U.R. De Silva was re-elected as the president of the Bar Association.
The last few years has seen the emergence of a hate culture that is being spread by the social media, and at which the Muslims had been, unfortunately, at the receiving end. We want to ensure that the perpetrators are brought before justice, that we don't shield anyone. Now we have to take steps to ensure this does not grow, this does not expand. This cannot be done only through law. I will talk of the legal issues, but there must also be social action.
Prime Minister also commented on the Cambridge Analytica fallout.
I was reading recently the use of Facebook and how Cambridge Analytica used 50 million data of 50 million people to influence the outcome of the US election. I must say Cambridge Analytica came and canvassed me also to get work from the UNP. Fortunately, we did not use the services of Cambridge Analytica, but they have an office here. And how did they get caught? Because Channel 4 decided to ask them, and then they came as a wealthy individual who was wanting to run for the presidential elections in Sri Lanka. It will be quite interesting to find out what are the names that they gave for the candidate. But it's that story that really, but some of the things that were said there were said to us. So I have no reason to disbelieve Channel 4. But it shows the danger. Just within 1 month, we see what's happening in Sri Lanka, and then this whole story of Cambridge Analytica comes out. So there has to be some effective patrolling.
You heard the Prime Minister speaking about the aftermath of Cambridge Analytica. For primetime news for tonight, log on to www.newsfirst.lk for more news that is not aired tonight. I'm Ramesh Rugal Bandara. Good night.